Good morning. My name is Representative Patricia Mueller. And just to give you a little bit of background of myself, I was a teacher for almost 20 years, not only here in America, but also spent 3 years teaching in China. I have completed my master's in curriculum and instruction with an emphasis in literacy, and just recently completed my doctorate in education. And so this is kind of my area, and I'm very excited to be able to talk about this. My job today is to tell you a little bit why the science of reading is so important, that we hold fast to the science of reading. It is too easy to put in legislation things that would provide loopholes for our teacher prep programs and for our districts to do something that they've already been doing and that we know is failing. We know that there are people who have vested interest in keeping the system the same. And yet we are here today to say that we are drawing a line in the sand and that it is time for us to only invest in the science of reading. The science of reading is actually been something that's been researched for decades, and it is explicit, systematic, cumulative instruction about the 5 essential elements, which are phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. That means that we as fluent readers, as we are learning to read, we do read one letter at a time. There is a correlation between the letters we see on the page and the sound that they make. We are able to sound out words. We are able to look at each letter and perceive it on the page. We must be able to teach our students about how they are looking at each letter, each grapheme, and how they make that sound. Because if we are teaching them that, they are going to be able to carry that into the future as they are learning, as they're seeing new words. This means that there is a letter-by-letter processing of a word rather than whole language. Students do not learn to read innately. We do not learn simply by being surrounded by literature. We do not learn how to read simply because we are having multiple opportunities to read. While all those things are important, to learn how to read is a systematic instruction that has to be intentional. One of the reasons why this is so devastating is because our teacher prep programs are not teaching our future teachers the science of reading. In the 2020 report of the National Council of Teacher Quality, they looked at 26 Minnesota schools that have that are doing the teacher prep program for our future teachers. They found that only 5 of them receive an A rating. And an A rating doesn't mean that they're teaching all 5 components. It just means they're teaching at least 4 of the components. One of the key findings that they found of that if a teacher prep school is only doing 4 out of the 5, the one that they're most often leaving out is phonics. And phonics is the decoding, is the bedrock of how we teach the science of reading. So even if the school is only teaching 4 out of the 5, leaving out that 5th one is devastating. We've already heard from many of my colleagues up here that not knowing how to read, being illiterate, is a health crisis. It is a public safety crisis. It is a crisis in our schools. And this means that we need to stand up now and invest now. I did want, before I turn it over to Senator Duckworth, I did want to say that we have examples of this working. Just recently, our scores came out and of reading, and we saw the devastating effects of COVID and of decades of underinvestments of the science of reading. But we did see was Mississippi, who starting in 2013 had a very strong literacy plan that only invested in the science of reading. They did not allow the 3 queuing system. They trained their teachers in the science of reading. They made sure that that they had support with literacy coaches and that they only use the science of reading. And within 6 years, they went from 49th in the nation in literacy scores to 1st. And so it's important for us to know that we do see success, and we know how it's done, and it's time for us to make our investments like